Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's forum. We decided as the JEDI Group that we hadn't introduced ourselves for a little while. We've been kind of just doing work in the background and thought it would be a good opportunity now to reintroduce who we are, what we do, and then in addition to that, talk about a couple events that we have coming up and a couple of resources that we have for everyone. So, I have probably 15 slides that I'd love to go through, but obviously if you have questions, if you have commentary, maybe keep the commentary to the end. The questions can happen in the middle. Just raise your hand and I'm happy to be interrupted. And we will get started with welcome to Conversations with JEDI. So JEDI is Justice, Equity, Diversity and Inclusion. Sorry, not diversion. Diversity and Inclusion. So JEDI Group formed as a merging of the racial justice group that started in 2021. We'll go 2021, right after George Floyd, so maybe 2020. I don't remember when we exactly started because it was all over Zoom and time is a little fuzzy during that period of time. And so the racial justice group started as a reaction to the George Floyd murder and all of the things that were happening during COVID. We as a group discussed a lot about racial justice and equity issues, centering our work on the experience of Black and Indigenous Americans, as those were the groups that were most affected by the systemic racism in our society, and then with the expectation that as we learned more about the systems of oppression that those peoples encounter, that we would be able to also learn about the systems of oppression that all immigrants and really non-white people in the United States encounter. So that was the racial justice group. And then we were joined by, after we went through the RIC process, the remnants of the group that actually, not the remnants, the whole of the group that actually worked on that process also joined in with the racial justice group, and instead we rebranded ourselves as JEDI so that we could actually include all oppressed Americans as an acknowledgement that race does have a bad place in our overall history, but also that I'm going to say it all wrong because I say it wrong every time, LGBTQIA+ community also has a big component of injustice that happens to them. And so therefore we are down JEDI, and so we kind of are dealing with both things. So, history. What do we do? So, our primary goal is to actually educate and to provide resources to the congregation. We did have a big long conversation at some point in time trying to figure out, especially after Dick Swayzgood's passing, about what it is, what is our mission, what should we be doing for the congregation, how best can we serve. The possibilities are kind of endless if you sit there and brainstorm, and so as JEDI we chose that our main goal is to educate the congregation to become a trusted source of news and of information around topics that people might or might not actually be comfortable having a conversation about. Might or might not be comfortable asking questions to their friends. Hopefully people would feel comfortable learning about that information in this trusted and loving group of people here at the church. So education became our number one priority. The other thing that we do is we provide resources, and resources today is actually going to be we have some discussions about ICE at the end of this presentation that we'll talk about for our today resources. But in general, we want to provide resources to the congregation to be able to make sure that people understand and have information that is good to be able to move forward with. So education and providing resources is our primary goals. So you will not see us sponsoring, sadly, for some people in the congregation, we're not going to be sponsoring protests. Like, that's not our mission. Our mission as JEDI is to educate and provide resources for other outside groups to do that. At this point in time, until the church council tells us different, we're not even a committee, so we're not like even like formally.
Time out. That's your decision, not council.
We have not asked to be a committee on purpose.
Please become a committee.
We will have that conversation. We don't currently even have have a chair. So our core activities really are forums like this, opportunities to teach. You will find us in trendings. When someone has an idea, we'll write a little "Did you know?" in trendings. So those are from the JEDI Group. Our website, we try to keep resources up on our page on the website. We co-sponsor events like we're doing with PFLAG. Partnerships, trainings, anything that you think that we should be doing that we're not doing, please come and talk to us. We would be happy to do more stuff. And then how you can engage with the JEDI Group, unless you want to join our non-committee, our group. We would love to have more people join our group. Otherwise, please come to the forums, engage with the information that we have online, give us ideas. We're always looking for more ideas because we're not sure what people need to know. So, with that, I'm going to move on. Any questions about who we are and what we do? Okay, I'll move on this way. Why? Why are we doing education resource? I think I talked about this. Compassion and effectivity with our work. So, I should also say that we do want to strengthen any partnerships with local organizations. Obviously, we need to be more involved in the overall church groups. We tried to, but have not yet successfully made partnerships with the other congregations in the area with their JEDI groups, or there are people who are doing equivalent information. We have loose bonds, but we need to probably strengthen those. But that is one of the other reasons that we exist, is so that we can actually have partnerships both with our greater Eastside community organizations, so they know that they can come to us for things like co-sponsoring the PFLAG event and other events. Yeah.
Question. Are these our organizations? Is that like Eastside Lutheran Church Community? Have you made connections with the other 8 churches here on the East Side?
No, we haven't, and we need to be doing that as a JEDI group.
Yeah.
We did that briefly, Anna, how long ago was that? I don't know, like long ago, like maybe in 2022, we started reaching out to make those connections, but then life got busy.
Yeah.
There've been a couple. The Pride service that happens in June.
The Pride service that happens in June.
The jointly between JEDI and the Love and Justice Group in St.
Yes, that's true.
And we're trying to coordinate through the Synod, and we now have a
Yeah.
connection at the Synod.
Yeah.
And so we're going to try to start at that level.
Yeah, we're going to try to do more Synod connections. We're working on that.
Well, that was just saying because the East Side churches, those 7 to 8 churches, they're a little even more local. They're even easier to connect with, actually.
Yeah.
And you can get names and addresses and how to connect, and you ask. I mean, this is what I'm doing in regards to global mission.
Yeah.
You can do the same thing in regards to this. And
Yeah.
but they name these committees different, or these groups, they name them differently. Sometimes they just call them justice, sometimes they call social issues. So I've learned that you gotta figure out the language for almost each church.
Yeah, I was thinking about that actually at the congregational meeting, that needed to be pretty high on our priority list. I don't think we've had a meeting since the congregational meeting. And so we haven't talked about it yet. But when we have our meeting on Wednesday, that is definitely one of the topics of conversation. So yes, thank you. Any other commentary before I move into our event? All right. We just wanted to make sure to invite everyone and provide awareness of the fact that we're hosting with PFLAG an event on March 7th, which is a Saturday. Nico Lang is going to come talk about American Teenager. Yes.
For those who don't know, can you explain what PFLAG is?
PFLAG. No, Karen.
PFLAG is a national organization. The letters originally they still stand for Parents and Friends of Lesbians and Gays. But over the past 50 years since it began, it has grown to expand so much more than that, so we don't really use those acronyms. The 3 pillars are support, education, and advocacy for all LGBTQIA+ people. And it's a national organization. And we have a local chapter here in Bellevue that covers the East Side. There's another chapter in Seattle, and I think another chapter in North King County. But we have monthly support meetings, and then during the Pride season, we're very busy at all the events. So, any questions? Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah, so Nico Lang wrote this fantastic book. So he's going to come do a reading event, provide resources for the families. JEDI is co-sponsoring this because this is the type of event that provides education and good resources to our community. Anyone have, yes?
Also,
This is why we have the experts.
I brought copies of all the literature that PFIC publishes, which is all free. It's also all on their website, but I will be adding this to the JEDI Resource Library as well.
We should put links on the website page too. Sorry, random extra thought. How can you help with this? We need help still. Talk to Karen. We need some volunteers, we need some people to provide hospitality, welcome, childcare, things like that. You can also invite your community that you know that would be interested in this event. Please make sure that it helps become a success. And if you are interested in learning about it, please, we do invite everyone in the congregation to come and actually learn and know how we can better support our community. So that was one event. Another event I have just a teaser for. Oh, sorry, I keep forgetting that I put more context in here. Why are we doing this right now? There is definite concern among the community that we're, especially with regards to the trans community, that we're beginning to see some pretty concerning signs of what would be an early stage of a genocide if we were talking about a different country. So we're really hoping that as a JEDI group and as PFLAG, I'm sure, like that we're starting to wrap our arms around people to be able to change the path of current history. History's not good in terms of where we are right now, and we want to make sure that we change that. So that's one of the reasons that we're sponsoring it. Also, we're sponsoring it because we were asked, which is always a good way to sponsor things. So, next event. In May, we're just going to put a teaser in here right now. There is an adult forum in May that we're going to be talking about our immigrant community. So we have a gentleman from Eastside for All and a gentleman and a woman, hopefully from the Circle in Issaquah, to be able to actually come and talk to us about the support that our immigrant community needs right now. So I guess mark your calendars for that. Safe Haven is actually going to be the person that we say is the people involved in this, so that we don't get bad actors coming, which is great. But so the Safe Haven event will actually talk about what the needs are and what the current challenges are that people are facing. So just mark your calendars for May for that. We're really looking forward to that event and learning about it. Okay, any questions about our education aspects? So I'm going to totally shift gears right now and go into resources. Okay, so shifting gears into resources, there's been a lot of concern about ICE in our area. Obviously, the events in Minneapolis have been super concerning, especially for those of us who have friends and neighbors, well, friends and family in Minneapolis. I will just say from a personal perspective, my house has been under a lot of stress for the last year and a half or so. The Haitian community, my family is Haitian. The Haitian community has been targeted both with deportation actions as well as for people who are here under like protected status. The concerningness about the fact that those laws have been changing rapidly. The fear that even those like my husband's brothers who were born in the United States could easily get caught up in an immigration raid, and without resources to be able to fight that, like they would get deported to Haiti where they've never even been before, things like that. So part of what we're concerned about as JEDI and why we're presenting this information is not so much as a critique or as a condemnation of the laws on the book. I don't want to have a conversation about the laws on the book. I don't think any of us want to have a conversation about the laws on the book and the correct policy response to our immigration challenges in this country, which have been going on for, I don't know, as long as I've been alive. The concern that we have today and why we're presenting the information about ICE is merely because there is a way to enforce laws that are both compassionate and humane and provide respect to all the people, and we're concerned that right now that's not necessarily happening. And if we look at the events that are happening in Minneapolis, those events are starting to happen here. I was totally freaked out when all of my mom's groups like exploded with the news when someone got arrested at Robbinswood Park right before school across the street from the school that my kids used to go to. So it's starting to happen here, and so we just need to make sure that people have resources so that when you see something, when you hear something in the news, you know what the truth is and you know what to do if you feel like you need to respond, so that you both don't put yourself in danger, don't make the situation worse, and don't put someone else in danger, because no one wants our actions to inadvertently hurt someone else. So with that, we're providing some information about kind of tiered layers of ways that you can support our immigrant community, or non-immigrant community, our community that may be targeted in a way that feels best for you, and if best for you feels like nothing at all, that's totally reasonable as well. We want to provide information and then also provide some explanation when you see other people do things. We were in Vancouver last weekend for a dance event, and one of the families was saying the next morning that they got woken up at 1:30 in the morning because people were shouting and whistles were blowing and they had no idea what was going on. And we figured out it was probably an immigration raid at the apartments across the street. But they didn't have any context for what that was. And so it's like, as a community, we could pick it apart and help them understand. So that's what we want to do, is provide resources to make sure that everyone understands what's going on when you see things that may or may not be concerning. But we are not going to sponsor any actions. I need to, from a liability church council, like, we're not supporting any, we as St. Andrews are not sponsoring any direct anything against anything. We're relying on partners. We are providing information about what partner resources you could go out to actually partner with yourselves if you would like to do that, but I need to make it clear that as St. Andrews we are not doing anything, mostly for liability reasons. Okay, so by risk level, what can you do if you would like to respond to these ICE actions? The first, if you're really high risk, which is not me, by the way, I am not a high risk individual. WASN, I don't know how to say that. WASN? WASN. It's when you read things all the time, you don't know how to say anything. WASN has trainings that you can go and join those people who are the rapid response teams that go out when ICE activity is actually called in. You can go out and make sure that you're there on the ground to be able to record the truth as to what's going on. So, yeah, provide immediate documentation and support, not to necessarily, the training tells you how to make sure that that happens safely, so please don't do this unless you've been on training. A medium risk level thing is to organize or attend some protests. We have on the information sheet on your tables, there's information about the organizations to get in touch with to be able to actually provide, to decide if you want to go. There was definitely one, like I was at Bell Square yesterday. There's a protest out on the corners of Bell Square. Like, they're around all the time, you can just go. And then also, you can canvass for neighborhood defense. There's information there. There's an organization that's trying to make sure that the businesses understand what their rights and responsibilities are towards themselves, their employees, and their customers in terms of any sort of ICE response. And then if you're like low risk level, like I'm good with all of this, if I can like throw some money in a pot, that would help. That response is generally to donate to legal or bond funds. We have some recommendations for both local and national organizations for that. To boycott people who are working with ICE actively, to be able to reduce their economic power. And then also supporting some of our local immigrant-owned businesses. I mean, the advantage of being in the Bellevue and East Side area is that there are lots and lots of wonderful immigrant-owned businesses to support. So we highly recommend that even if you do nothing else, if you have a choice between an immigrant and a non-immigrant-owned business, then maybe you go to the immigrant-owned business for a little while. So let's see. There's a link also on that, and I think we're going to try to get this document sent out in trending so people have a link to all of the live links. But there's a Know Your Rights with Immigration flyers. If you want to poster those around on the neighborhood, that works. You'll sometimes hear salute, maybe in some of the training informations, and that's an acronym. That's the information that people gather when an actual raid is going on immediately to be able to report in what it is. So if you hear that acronym, this is what it means. Size, people are looking at what the size of the activity is it one person or multiple? Where they are, like what they are doing, where they are, what kind of uniforms they're wearing to make sure that you're not like accidentally like, oh, this is like legitimate, like someone was speeding down the road, police activity versus actual enforcement activity. And then what time it is and the equipment. And then there's a hotline that you can actually call to report that information. And then you'll also sometimes hear about whistles. I was very confused about whistles because at the moment I am on a complete and utter news diet, and so I'm like, I have no idea what people are talking about. But Karen has some, we have some in the church office. The whistles are to just easily alert people that ICE activity is going on. 3 short blasts are that they're nearby, 3 long blasts are that there's actually a detention in progress. So if you're interested in that, talk to Karen too. She's like the woman for everything for today, and I appreciate that. All right. Resources. So on our JEDI webpage, we will definitely have a link to this flyer that we have that has the resources on it. We try to keep that somewhat up to date. We're not great about it, but we try to keep it somewhat up to date with resources in general. The local organizations, these are the 3 that we would recommend that if you would like specifically to understand about ICE-related activities, go and sign up for their newsletters. They're the people that will have, for this area, the most up-to-date and accurate information.
And they're on your.
They're also on the flyers. So we think those are probably trusted, not probably. We believe that the information that they provide is trusted information that you can believe in. They'll be telling you the truth and they won't try to sensationalize the reality. Yeah.
Could you say something briefly about what the difference is between those 3?
Maybe. No, I can't, but local experts is who I bring.
Okay, so Karen Getzinger and I are both very involved in this with WISN and Indivisible East Side. So we're both rapid responders. We're both trained rapid responders. So WISN is Washington is a statewide organization, and they do the trainings. It stands for Washington Immigration Solidarity Network, is what WISN stands for. Indivisible East Side is there are Indivisible, Seattle Indivisible, Linwood. It's a national program, but then each community can set up their own resource network. There wasn't one for the East Side specifically. There was a Seattle one, and they were trying to cover East King County and the other side of the lake. It was too much ground to cover. It was just too vast. And at the early stages, most of the immigration actions were happening in Seattle. Some of our friends said, this is not just happening in Seattle. We have a huge immigration population on the East Side. And so Heather Kelly, Sally Fouché, and Kat Pipkin started Indivisible East Side. And so it is specifically for political and non-political and immigration support, and that's happening Kirkland, Bellevue, Issaquah, the whole East Side, a little bit into Renton, Sammamish, and they have a wonderful website, as Malinda just said, and they provide a lot of information. And they have partnered with, it's very important to them in all of this that's going on, that they partner with the communities actually being affected, and we take direction from them. So the people of color that are actually being impacted by the ICE raids and things, they are our leaders. We're not doing anything without their say-so. We're not doing anything without their permission, without their advice. Eastside for All is specifically an immigrant community organization that helps with housing and jobs and immigration resources, everything. The gentleman who's coming to speak to us is an employee of Eastside for All, and he is typically in charge of their housing policy outreach, but he's had to shift gears. He has partnered within Eastside for All with 2 other organizations, and what Malinda was saying is we don't want their names used, and we don't want their organization specifically named because they might be targeted for dangerous action. So they created another kind of smaller umbrella organization that they just call Safe Haven, and involves all of these other groups that supply different types of support for our immigrant neighbors. There's ones that specify Latina and Latino immigration. There's ones that involve with the Africans for the East Side, Muslim communities. It's a huge umbrella, but they just call themselves Safe Haven to keep their specific names out of the press, which is horrifying that it's necessary. But that gentleman's coming next week, and possibly another woman is coming from one of the smaller organizations. So that's who they are. They're all awesome people. Cannot wait for him to be here. You're going to love him. Yeah, in May. That's May 3rd.
May 3rd. That's May 3rd. Thank you so much. Community effort. All right. How can we help you get involved? Obviously, we have people on our JEDI committee that are involved in lots and lots of things. So if you come and say, hey, I'd really like to be involved in blah, probably we can hook you up to the right person who can help you get involved. Certainly, event hospitality, publicity, volunteers, like that is always a good way to get involved. If you're not like, oh, that seems like a commitment. Some short commitments are just hand out the flyers, hand out making sure that people know Immigrant Lights, talk to your friends and neighbors about it, attend our Nico Lang event, bring a friend. And then if you're really wanting to like make a really good long commitment to this, the rapid response teams are always a good place. Come join our JEDI group, not committee. I did put a group. I didn't even put group. Lead a discipleship hour forum or suggest a topic. We've done them on lots of different types of things over the last couple years, but we're always kind of looking for the topics that actually people are going to be interested in. So if you have an idea for a topic, we would love to hear that. And then I think that's easy. If you want one little quick step to do this week, here are 3 suggestions. Attend the event, make a donation, or sign up for a newsletter. Those are easy. Everyone can do one of those 3. So I would highly recommend you do one of those 3. That's it. That's all I got. Yes.
I'd like to remind everyone that crossing the border without documentation is a civil, not a criminal act.
That is true.
And we need to encourage all friends and relatives that live in states that have Republican representatives to remind them that the Republican Party is supposed to be about truth and following the law, and they need to step up and do what is necessary so we don't have any of these issues.
All right.
Contact your relatives. Get them to yell at Chuck Grassley.
Yeah. Any other questions, commentary? All right. Well, oh yeah.
I'll just say one other thing. From folks, I have a lot of friends that are in the Twin Cities, and one of the things that still is one of the best ways to advocate from afar for things that are out of control is you can write representatives that aren't yours. Phone calls and letters go a long way, because the more they have to log all those, they do, and the more that they have there, the more pressure that they have to respond to them. So if you want to do something but you don't know what to do, you can always contact a representative and voice your support in support of immigrants in our communities.
All right. Yes.
And I'll just add to top of what Doug said that it's really easy these days, for those of you who don't spend all day on the internet, it's actually really easy to find those names and find their contact information these days. You just type into a browser that representative's name and their state, boom, you'll have their contact info. So it's pretty easy. I think, if you look back in the past, it was more difficult. Now it's almost instantaneous.
All right. Yeah. One more thing. Microphone.
Yeah, that's what I want. And for those of you who might be concerned that we're trying to make this a political thing or a partisan thing, we are not. That is not what this is about. This isn't political. I know it's easy to think it is, and there is a lot of good to be done by contacting representatives because this is policy, but this is about treating people with humanity and compassion. I don't care how they got here, why they're here. Everybody's entitled in this country. Everybody is entitled to due process, and everybody is entitled to be treated fairly and with compassion. And if you don't want to take the political stance, if you don't want to reach out to your reps, that's fine. But if you want to feed these people, which Lutherans are so good at, that's a great way to help. I attended a tamale making party a few weeks ago. We made 200 tamales to be delivered to people who can't leave their homes because they are afraid to go to work, they're afraid to go to school. I'm hosting a tamale making party at my house next Saturday to make, yes, to make another 200 tamales. They provide us with all of the ingredients we need. I told them, white woman, it's gonna suck. And they said, it's okay. It's still food. But there are ways to help that are not political at all. It's just about being a good person. And I know you're all that, no matter how you vote. Sorry, and I cry when I talk about this. Sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. All right. Any other questions, concerns, commentary? Great. I will say thank you all very much for coming. If you have an idea for another forum, we're obviously having one on May 3rd, but I think we also reserved a date on the calendar in April. I think, don't we? Yeah. That we were gonna talk about media bias, but I don't know. We'll see if we change our topic. And then otherwise, have a fantastic day, and we'll see you all in church.